Welcome back to the HH Gaming Podcast, brought to you by hellhades.com. As ever, I'm joined by the co-host of the show, Sphera or Paul. And today we are joined by none other than Sham from Skeleton Hand, who are the creators of Incarnate, which you may have seen on Hell Hades channel. But today we're going to be talking about some of the things that they've been implementing into their game and some of the things that you should be excited for as the game starts to progress and move into the stages where it's going to be going live in just a few months' time. So welcome to the podcast, Sham. How are you doing?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me. Super psyched to be here. Nice to officially meet Saf and get to hang out with you as well.
Yeah, awesome. So for the guys who are listening to the podcast either on Spotify or on YouTube, who don't necessarily know what Incarnate is, don't know Skeleton Hand or anything like that, do you want to give maybe a bit of a background as to yourself and the game and the projects that you're working on?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Sham. I am CEO and co-founder of Skeleton Hand. We put out a board game kind of in the same universe as Incarnate called Raid Boss. It's a 4-player co-op.
Got the poster behind me.
Got the poster behind you. That's right.
Yeah.
So I won't give the whole spiel about how we kind of got here, but we are at this point making a play to own multiplayer, obviously, but I think one of the things we're going to talk about is live PvP.
Yep.
So play to own hero collector. And so the game itself is in this world, in that Raid Boss world, where kind of like all the creators have kind of like dumped their rubbish into this thing we call the Void, and then things come back. And the way that you kind of like hero collect is you take pieces of the things that come out, and they've come back kind of like jumbled. So if you think like there's only a certain number of classes, but those classes can be mixed and matched, right? So you can get different abilities, a different body, mind, and a soul, and then you can we call them Eternals, but they're essentially equipment, and you can basically then equip them to make your Incarnates do different things, like make their abilities interact in a different way.
Yeah.
And then go ahead.
No,
it's like a pick a mix for gaming. What you're saying? You go to the shop.
I was going to say the Void's like the cupboard under my stairs. It's basically where I dumped everything, and it comes out.
You're the rubbish bin, right? That's how it works. It's funny.
Like
I was watching
take bits out.
Yeah.
I was watching Loki, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I don't want to do any spoilers for anybody, but
oh no, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right?
You're talking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We won't call it what the wormhole is.
I guess those of you that know will know. Those of you that don't, go watch Loki. It's awesome.
Yeah.
In any case, so the I guess the battle is played on a 3D transformable battlefield. I guess that's one of my favorite parts about the game is that you kind of run around this like XCOM or Final Fantasy Tactics style board with 3 Incarnates. Typically, could be more in the future or less in some different scenarios against someone else's characters. So that could be in live PvP or against essentially endless waves of minions, and that's kind of like one of our other modes. So the general feel of the game is going to be like an XCOM style like tactics, where you get to build your characters in a very specific and really different way than maybe you've seen in some other games.
So I mean, I guess the people from the Raid community, it's effectively a game a bit like Raid Shadow Legends, but you've got the 3D transform board that you're playing on. So if you imagine a chessboard effectively, but every single one of those squares can move up and down and be destroyed by people's attacks and things like that, which is insane. I mean, as well as that, the way that you guys have made some of the changes in the game, especially since I think I first saw it just before Christmas last year. And the jumps that I've seen in the development in that time is insane. Back then I can remember seeing some of these abilities, and we had the Titan smashing his hammer on the ground and sort of knocking a load of the champions back, and the board was dropping with it. But now when you see it, like the jump that you've done in terms of the graphics and how it actually looks, as it really makes it feel like there's an actual impact going on, rather than it's like one move and then drops it down. But I mean, obviously it was like way pre-alpha that I was looking at it originally.
Yeah, the
But yeah,
last update is crazy good. Like the last patch you guys did for the graphics, the screenshot coming out of it, you get much crisper, much cleaner. You know, obviously, like I guess you guys have decided you wanted to go that kind of retro graphical style more than, you know, obviously producing a very high tier graphical game has its own challenges, but there's also an art and a style to having a bit more of a retro style. But just like the crispness, the zoom, the quality, it looks way better the last update.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's a real testament to Dane. He's done a lot of work on kind of like bringing our shared vision to life. And then and Leo has been has really come in. This is one of our technical artists. She's come in and really helped kind of breathe life into some of these things. And yeah, but so the kind of like you said, it's kind of got this particular style. We wanted it to feel like Dane's art in essence. Like Dane and I kind of sat down way back when, like 6-7 years ago, way back when, designing these characters, and we wanted it to feel like, okay, I'm not just making this game. Okay, well, let's make this ultra realistic and have like you said, like a different style. We wanted to really try to feel like, okay, you see the character and then you see the art and you're like, oh yeah, they feel like they're the same. This is just a 3D version. Hopefully we're hitting that. And obviously there's some complexity in having 16,000 different combinations of characters that you can do.
Yeah, that's insane.
Your balancing is going to be fun when you get there. Once people start finding different ways to min-max and exploit the game, you're going to be in. We
are doing that, dealing with that right now. That's why. So, you know, speaking of live PvP, that's why we were like, you know, I don't know if you guys have gotten to play that much, but the PvP like matchmaking is like developer art, basically, right? We were just like, we just need to get this out to people so they can start breaking the game. Yep. and telling us like, okay, well, this ability sucks, this ability is really great, this ability with this ability doesn't work, whatever. And then learning, like, you know, I mean, I think what our superpower as a company is, I'm more than willing to fail in front of people and just get out there and keep testing and iterating until it works, until I'm proud of it and the community is proud of it and excited about it. And so that's what we've been doing. We're just kind of taking the Tesla model, right? You just go, you make a great product, and then if someone does, you know, if we find things that are wrong with it, you don't just like try to hide it. You admit it, and then you fix it, and you make those changes. And that's maybe what you're seeing, right? We like to get in front of people and show it. And the community has been great. Speaking of Hell community, and your community, they've been so awesome at giving that feedback and helping us.
Are they behaving themselves?
Behaving themselves. Well, I can't really say that, but but can I expect you to in a world where, you know, like you said it's like this. I feel like it's Mr. Potato Head or Legos,
yeah,
or yeah, a robot. I don't know. I don't know how to like best describe it, but man, when you get a build and you're like, wait a second, what if I did this with this? And you see something totally broken, like it's very tempting to just hide that information and just just use it.
We won't tell anyone about that right now.
Right. But everyone you know, at least so far, people are mostly telling me when something, and that's it's been awesome. So, yeah, PvP has been such a. I mean, we've only had it for what 1-2 weeks or something, or one week out, but it's something that we never really thought we were going to be able to do, especially before launch.
Yep.
And that's a testament to Bjorn. Honestly, Bjorn is our lead developer. Okay. We had talked about. He's like, hey, do you want live PvP? And I was like, yeah, of course I want live PvP.
Why doesn't?
Yeah. But that's not realistic, right? I didn't think it was realistic in my mind, right?
Yep.
And he's basically just like noted it, and then we just moved on to what we were working on because we had so many other fires to put out, right? And so in kind of like as he's been architecting the game, like really making these things work together, and on the back end essentially, he's been kind of like planting that seed. Like he's always made it so that we could do that, right? Because there's a lot of things you need to make work for that to work, right? You need valid, because otherwise, I'm sure, like for example, a game like Raid, they could easily make a live PvP, but the question is, can they do it with true validation? That's going to be fast. That's not going to be easily hackable. Yeah, it's not going to be easy.
The experience as well, right?
The answer is probably no. like once you get to a certain size and you didn't architect your game in a certain way, it's hard, man. It's hard to go back. Like so we're, in a sense, we're lucky that we that I decided to say yes, essentially, right? that I told him, like,
so we'll deal with that later.
Yeah, well, exactly.
And I suppose when
at
it's
some
in
point,
alpha, you can almost, like, you can make those decisions in alpha because nobody's expecting you to have a sustainable product at that point in time. People going, it's alpha, it's not live. If things break because we put an update into the game that had like elements of an unreleased piece of content in preparation to lay the groundwork and the architecture for that, people are willing to accept that. So you've got that scope. But if you try to do this, as you said, if a game like Raid tries to do this now, then they haven't planned ahead. They would potentially break substantial amounts of code trying to do it, and then they've got thousands of daily players going, why can't I play the game because you've broken it? And that then leads to problems. So it's good that you think ahead, I guess. That's the key point.
I guess as well as that, with a game like Raid, is that we know at the moment that the time that you communicate with the server is at the end of the match. So at the end of the match, that's when you send your data to the server and the server sends it back, and you get your reward and things like that. That's the point in which you connect. But if we're talking about a live PvP scenario, you're effectively going to be having to connect to, or two people are going to be having to connect to a server at each point that you select which ability that you're going to be doing. And as you say, that if they haven't, I guess, integrated that into their architecture, it could be, almost impossible to backtrack to that point, or at least a massive amount of work. So I guess maybe it's something that they never really intended to happen, or they're just already keeping it so far under wraps that it's going to be a release in I don't know,
or the main difference
2026.
Does it generate revenue for them? That would be the main one. Like, obviously, like we've spoken before, Sham, and it's this game that you're building in Incarnate is more a labor of love than it is a labor of, we want to make millions and buy ourselves a boat and go to the Monaco races to see who's got the biggest boat. You know what I mean? It's like you want to make it's not just about the money, it's about how can we make a sustainable, how can we make an enjoyable and like a labor of love. Whereas I think when it comes to a game like Raid and Plarium now, it's much more about, is this going to increase this number by 10? If not, well, that's not worth the time and effort.
But I feel like it would. I really feel like if there was a live competitive scene in Raid, it would drive people to try and compete harder and harder. Because at the moment, just trying to get into Platinum is, I guess that's not the end game.
It's not PvP, is it? Really?
It's not competitive. But if I was having to fight up against people in a live scenario, and I know that I'm getting outspeeded, or I'm getting I need a certain set to be able to do something crazy with this, then I would farm more, which means that I have to spend more to be able to farm more, to be able to build stuff up. So
I think it's just like gaming today, for example. You think of all the biggest games in the world, they're not built on the concept that it's exclusively PvE single player. No. We're talking League of Legends, Valorant, CSGO. We're talking, MMOs that are coming up that still want to be developed, even though they cost a lot of money. So I'm guessing for a game like Incarnate, once you've completed the sort of single player campaign, if there's nothing else, then people are it's going to be like something like one of those. Yeah, it's going to be one of those $20 games you buy on Steam where it's like you go in and you play it for 20 hours, you have a lot of fun, and then you go, there's nothing else for me to do now.
Yeah, what now?
PvP and live PvP is where you can like take that hero collection and go, okay, well, I might need to build a new hero, a new Incarnate, because there's been a rise in this strength and someone has figured out that this works really well. So my decision making and my thing I need to do in the game. But you see a little bit in Raid where it's like, if a champion, like when Reaction came in, the meta changed, and when they changed some champions and your champion changes, so you have to build differently. But with Incarnate, you've got way more range, I guess, where you've got, potentially someone might find this weird combination that nobody's ever thought about, and it completely changes the way that everyone else is now going to play live PvP, which means that I now, as a player, go, okay, well, this is new, this is different, it's keeping me engaged, it's keeping me wanting to do something else and wanting to take the next step.
I mean, that shifting meta is so huge, especially like, we're talking about Raid and kind of their model, which is free to play. You come in, if you want to pay to go faster, or you want to pay to get better champions,
progress.
You can do that, right? But what's interesting about the way, like, I mentioned when I first talked about it, we're played to own. That's kind of like the buzzword that we're kind of using. But I think it's appropriate. Like I don't think it's the way we're describing it is not being facetious or it's not just marketing. Really, what we're saying is, when you play the game, you can and I don't know if the community even knows this, but when you play the game, you can level up your characters, you can get them to some point, and then you can use what's called a creator seal to turn that into an NFT.
Yep.
To something that you permanently own, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you doesn't have anything to do with your account. If your account gets deleted, whatever, it's in your wallet, right? Your crypto wallet, and then so you can trade that. So imagine if in Raid you could trade, right? Now so the thing is we're designing it differently than Raid, but just think about how different the economy would be, right? It's closer to like the economy of Magic the Gathering, right? If you think about the way Magic the Gathering works, okay, well, I built my deck with these, whatever these cards are. I don't want to use that. I want to play a new deck, or I think this is the new meta. So I'm going to go sell my card, my character. In our case, I'm going to trade it for something that's better, or I think will be better or more valuable in the future. It's going to feel more like that. So I own those things, and we don't take any cut of that. We don't we take cut only on the front end in the sense that we make creator seals valuable. You have to either, either buy them from us, or you can farm the resources in the game. You'll just get them over time. So yeah, I mean, I'm so excited about this concept of the shifting meta, because it makes it so that live economy is what kept me in so many other games. Like I loved playing Path of Exile because I would go search for different crazy build. What was the new hotness? What was the new thing I wanted to go after? Okay, it would be that. Oh, this looks like this A meta is here. Well, here's the B meta. Oh, B meta is really strong. Okay, now we go to the C meta. Oh, see, the C meta gets stumped by A, so A is back. I don't know. I'm so
it keeps you engaged, right?
Here's a question. Here's a question for you, Sham. Are we going to be able to see pink slip battles in Incarnate, where people put their NFTs on the line?
How
cool would that be? Think about the pressure.
So the thing is, so which is funny, because Magic originally had that design in the game. I don't know if you guys remember the original Magic. You were supposed to take like the top 2 or top 1 card of your deck, and you would say, "This is what I'm putting on the line." For
collateral kind of thing.
I'll say it's not in the current timeline. It's not in the current roadmap for that. But you know what? That's something. Let's say you and I wanted to do that. We could do that. I don't own it.
So you could do like a tournament.
You could do an outside.
Another thing which would be really cool actually is competing in these tournaments almost increases the value of your NFT, because if you imagine if you're watching LCS or something, for instance, and that tournament winner who's completely dominated everyone, when he finishes the tournament, he then says, I'm actually selling this build. This build is up for grabs.
It's got a bit of a premium tag to it then.
Yeah. And everyone's watched it. Everyone's seen what this thing's able to do, and they want to do the
World
same.
Championship build, or set of builds with this equipment, and you're kind of like, if you're somebody that just has have money to spare, and you're like, I want to go after this build, and which sounds like, oh, let's play to win. What it really is, or pay to win. What it really is it adds value for everyone in the community. So if you farm, you work really hard for a good build, it has value. Like you can sell it, you can trade it, you can create value for yourself based on your time. You own your time. That's the idea of play to own, because that's one of the things that I feel like gaming right now is missing, and this revolution is happening right now. You'll start to see this in the next couple of years. This is not going to be something that's new. Just so you.
No. I see quite a lot of sort of things in development, or just sort of creeping out there and things like that.
Right. So this is going to be the standard, right? Because why should these companies get to take a cut of every transaction? Why should they own something that I spent all this time doing this work? I spent 500 hours and a bunch of my money to make my character perfect and godlike. Yeah. Why can they just turn off my account and now it's gone?
That's actually the thing that scares me about trying new games, and especially MMOs. And it's actually the reason that I never got involved in private servers on say World of
It's just
Warcraft
no
private
control.
servers. Well, because the thing is, you're going to invest all this time into it, and somebody could switch it off, and,
Yeah, they just
and
go
then it
like, I think I'm
disappears.
bored of this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then
I mean,
and then
I suppose for me, this is all touching into that psychological element of people value uniqueness in the sense that, you know, at a basic level, people go, that's my car. They're not saying that's a car, they're saying that's my car. And they get really excited when my car's got a special decal or a special color or something unique about it. And you're doing the same thing. Like you think in a basic level in League of Legends, when the World Championship team wins the World Championship, they release a set of skins and everyone goes crazy about it because it's like, it's a commemoration of a moment in time of history in the game that might never happen again.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of touching on those two things. And yeah, as you said, it's like people want to own these moments and these experiences and these items. They don't want to feel like it's sort of on borrowed time. Even if the case that the game in 25 years time shuts down, you still got that element. You don't lose it forever.
Well, and that's so touching on that point, actually, like this whole NFT gaming space is actually all about that cross functionality in a sense, right? So, you know, once we get rolling, and we're already talking about partnerships with some other NFT games, you'll be able to bring your incarnate NFTs into other people's games. Yeah. Like that. Like once this becomes a part of we're on that the edge of like that Ready Player One. It's happening, man. It's like I mean, like Ready Player One. I mean, there's a million different other worlds. Yeah,
you haven't seen it.
I've not seen that one.
You're missing
I know it's about like, you know, you live in a computer world or something, and you can basically make your own world. But that's about as much as I know.
It's short and worth your time.
do not work this evening. All you need to do is watch Ready Player One. It's an amazing film. I love it. I actually love it. It's a great film. It's actually one of the few that I would watch again.
Yeah, because it has that nostalgia, and I think we can capture essentially, like, not we necessarily specifically us, but this concept of NFT gaming will capture all those things that I think everybody that saw that movie and is my age or around my age or is gonna love, and then people in the future will love too, because like you said, you're capturing that moment in time. And then in the future, if let's say some other company came out and they had I always give the example, if I was playing Forza and I NFT'd my car, and then I was able to hop that car into GTA, that feels pretty freaking cool.
Yeah,
right.
Cool.
It's the only car in the world that's that car. That's cool, man. Now we're talking about that Ready Player One, where that you know, the digital world kind of seeping into the real world concept that's happening. You know, and you know, we're like Incarnate is like a stepping stone towards that in a lot of ways, and I think it's going to be an amazing experience for anybody that gets involved. But it's not the end. It's not the end of the line, right? Getting these NFTs now in this game or in other games that have this concept, a lot of people I think are seeing it as like, oh, I'm just getting like, you know, a static image or something, or static something that now I have it and no one else has that, you know, that version of it. It's way more than that. It's like the possibilities on this are way bigger than I think a lot of people will. Then the public will appreciate until 1 or 2 years down the line, right? Sure. But when that happens, like the people that got involved now, that got excited now, they'll be rewarded. It's kind of like, again, going back to Magic. If you started Magic at Alpha and you pulled yourself a Black Lotus, you're feeling pretty good in a couple of years, right?
yeah.
You're pretty happy about that. So
I mean, it's like the same things like the stories of like cryptocurrency, right? Back in the day before crypto was big and everything, and someone's like, you know, I did it for fun. And then you hear these news stories of people like saying, I'll pay you £1,000 if anyone can find that hard drive that had like 10,000 Bitcoin that was worth like £1 back then. That's now worth like £1 million because they just mined it for fun.
I guess the moral of the story is, folks, if you're going to play Incarnate, don't go trading your Incarnates for one pizza.
No,
not worth.
It's not worth it.
There was that guy that bought like a pizza for a Bitcoin or something like that.
Yeah,
I saw.
I think it was like 300 Bitcoin. It was something crazy.
Yeah, it was insane.
Back then, it was worth literally nothing. It's only been the last sort of 5 years that crypto's become a thing. And I think, for me, on a basic level, I think, you know, when I've tried to explain NFTs and that to sort of people outside of the NFT world, you know, people who aren't in crypto, who aren't in that world, they almost go, well, what am I getting for it? And it's kind of like, you know, like the famous one when it first started was what's his face, the co-founder of Twitter, basically sold his NFT for his first ever tweet, and it sold for like, I don't know, a couple of million or something crazy like that. And I tried to explain it to one of my friends once, and they were like, so what, someone just paid like a couple of million for like words? I'm like, well, yeah, because it's unique.
Yeah,
it's
like,
ownership
of it.
It's like some people still haven't grasped the concept, but like when you really just basically, you know, break it down into what it is, it's like people want something no one else has.
Right.
The amount of times people play a game and go, I was the first to figure this out, or I have this and no one else has got this, or I've got the best of this. You see it in our Discord all the time.
Flex, right?
Yeah,
gamers love to flex.
Exactly.
So this is literally the ultimate flex.
This is like flexing with ownership.
That's right. I literally own, you know, like you said, the world championship Incarnate. I literally own whatever. I own this thing, and no one else can possibly have it because there's only one.
Yeah, you know, I sell
that's
it.
Very cool.
Essentially.
Yeah.
So it means you can essentially.
But you can like have it if I sell it.
Right. You can have it for just a low price of whatever. You know.
Yeah.
We'll have like a little marketplace on Discord when Incarnate goes live, saying, you know, for a short amount of time, this is available for $1.99.
I might start flipping NFTs, like just farming them and flipping them. Be fine.
I mean, I have started seeing it coming across different factors. I think I saw on Twitter the other day that the Misfits organization's Call of Duty team, the Mutineers or something, were giving away like 150 NFT items to people as part of their like promotion and stuff. So we're starting to see that rise now of people going, NFT is a way that we can engage with our community and give back, and doesn't necessarily cost us. We don't generate revenue, but we don't exactly lose money either, and it gives gamers more ways to engage with their communities.
When Logan Paul had the fight with Floyd Mayweather, he was giving away NFT Pokemon cards of him as a boxer.
Yeah.
And
I didn't get that.
I mean, they're probably worth a lot of money.
Probably worth a lot.
Yeah.
He really concerns me, that man. It's not all there.
Yes, not every NFT thing is a good investment.
Not every NFT is going to actually add value here. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with my Pokemon card version of Logan Paul fighting some random YouTuber because he wants to look big and buff. I don't really know.
I kind of want to own one though.
But now if Nintendo said, okay, in our next Punch-Out game, we're going to have Pokemon Logan Paul, but only if you have that NFT.
Ooh.
Pretty cool.
Well, I suppose you can see some of that now with Fortnite are kind of leading that way, right? I mean, they were the first people to do sort of trailer releases within the game, you know, and they had people go into one specific area of Fortnite where they would play the trailer exclusively before anywhere else. And they had this Ariana Grande concert.
Yeah, my son was talking about that actually. He watched the concert live or something.
So she actually did a concert within Fortnite, and you sort of sit and think, well, it's Battle Royale. How the hell does that work? But what they're doing, which is very clever, is Battle Royale comes and goes. They know that they can build a game and people will get bored of it. So how do we create longevity? Well, these crossover events with Marvel and all this, it keeps people engaged and they feel like they're getting like a unique experience and an event out of it. Just like NFTs are going to give people unique ownership. Yep. Those kind of crossover events where, as you said, the Ready Player One thing where the digital world becomes actually where everything gets released.
It's here, man.
It's like a crazy new world. It's really exciting.
It really is. It's and another thing that, like, I guess we haven't really talked about too much. So we call it play to own. The kind of the staple that people have been using for a kind of a long time is play to earn. I don't like that term. It doesn't feel as interesting, I guess, for me. But in a game like ours, or in a game where we have it designed where you over time can get these resources to get things that have dollar values, right? That is entirely possible. Like you were joking, like, oh, I'm going to farm NFTs, you know, in Incarnate. It's like, well, that might be.
Oh, I wasn't joking.
He's like, no, I'm serious.
You haven't seen my other screen. That one's not in the reflection.
That's right. But yeah, but if you're in a country where you know, like you have access to, you know, you only have access to a phone and you don't need as much money per day. I mean, we're already seeing this for, you know, I think in the Philippines, people playing Axie Infinity were able to literally drag themselves out of poverty during COVID-19 just by playing that game. Like that's another thing that I love about it. Like I've always been somebody who wants to make a positive impact on the world. And games are a fun way to do that. But I mean, that's a next level for me, that there can be somebody, that literally can make their livelihood with this is what they're doing. I mean, and that's happening right now with Raid, for example, right? In a sense, for you guys are content creators. You already have that. We already have that happening. But now it's like one step below that, right? You don't have to be that one content creator. You can be somebody who's just farming. Who's just farming stuff, materials, and then selling it. And it's encouraged by the company, not black. You don't become blacklisted. Yeah. You don't all of a sudden, it's not a black market has to show up and you have to hide your IP address and make $1 million. Just play the game, do it. I don't care. Yeah, it's your stuff, your time, your stuff. Let's go.
It's actually, to me, it's quite surprising that it's taken this long to get there, because a lot of these elements, for me, like it's drawing back my memory of playing EVE Online, because EVE Online for me is like probably the closest game that I've ever seen to a realistic real world marketplace where you buy low, sell high, trade across different regions and different market share values and whatnot. But they themselves had a similar mechanism where you would essentially play to earn credits, and then you could spend those credits on ISK, which was, ISK is the credit, but game time essentially. So it's kind of like, well, they had the core concept there in the sense that you could play to pay for your time to play the game. You didn't have to subscribe, you didn't have to pay to them. Yeah. But it's surprising to me it's taken like 15 years for them to realize, for that concept to actually become well, if I can play to not have to pay, why can't I play to actually earn money and play their own stuff?
I think what probably made it so hard is that it's something that companies aren't good at, which is saying, I'm going to trust that if we don't take ownership of essentially the entire economy, that it will be very beneficial for us, but also for it's okay for the players to also be benefiting from this. Yeah. That seems like a foreign concept, and I understand why. Like I get it. If I think about like the, all the games I've played, they were either you bought it in the store for X amount of dollars, or you did it in a subscription model, or now finally there's free to play, where you're basically paying by playing the game for people that are paying in the game, in a sense, right? That's kind of that cycle. So this is like the one step. I mean, I don't know if this is the end. Maybe there is something about this, but this is like one step further, where it's like, okay, the company of course the company has to make, Skeleton has to make money for us to make
absolutely
content, right?
Yeah.
So everyone understands that, I think.
Right. We make a game that makes the things that you're farming valuable, but then from there you just own those things, and as long as if there's a big enough economy, then we should be doing just fine, right? Yeah. Because that's essentially the way that merchandise works, in a way, right? If you go to what's that store where they do drops of like shirts. I'm blanking on this company.
I'm not sure.
Anyway, a lot of companies, like exclusive companies that have like exclusive merchandise or expensive merchandise, if you buy it, it's over. You've taken it from that company, right? And now you own it. That's the way the real world works. But for a long time, digital just didn't work like that.
Yeah.
And NFTs have kind of enabled that.
There's always like leasehold, I guess, right? It's the difference between like you just buy a house, now you own that house. Well, the digital world isn't. You basically pay to go in the house and stay there and rent it. But the moment the house starts falling apart and there's not enough money to maybe maintain it and paint the walls and maybe expand and put an extension on, if we run out of that, people get bored of living in that house, they move to a different house. And that's the problem.
I think. Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah. I think
great analogy that's just come into my brain. I don't know why I've never thought about that. There you go. Game development is like renting a house.
The way that I'm looking at it, to be honest, is a bit like you guys own the arcade, and people come in, they play the games, and the games are those claw machines, and they're going to pick up that thing and they're going to win it. They're going to potentially have to either spend a lot of time or money to speed things up. Maybe they get faster, more goes on the claw machine if
they need more skill.
Or skill. But when that thing drops in and they win it, it's like, cool, that's now worth something. I can now go and sell that on, or I can just keep it. I can have a collection at home of all these things.
Right, or you can use it. I mean, that's the other thing that I guess you kind of forget to mention. It's like, by the way, specifically for us, talking about like the overall NFT community, when you use your creator seal, you'll get either one. We used to have 0, 1, or 2, but now it's just 1 or 2 gifts. Okay, and those gifts are you can only get them. Not gifts like I'm going to send you a present or something. They're like they're buffs essentially. To the way your character.
So enhancements sort of thing.
Enhancements, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's and there's we're releasing with 100 gifts, 100 different gifts you can get. So 1% chance to get like maybe the exact gift that you want, right?
Yeah.
But because the gifts are all kind of like they can work for different setups. And it just adds one more level of uniqueness, right? Your character might be designed the same way as the meta, but you might be the only person in the whole world that has a double, I don't know, Sanct, which is like our block debuffs gift. They last longer or something like that. So you have like that the claw machine is interesting because maybe you grabbed this huge one that's almost impossible to grab, and now you have this crazy valuable thing. So no matter what. When you do creator seal, it's better for you just in the game. Like as you play the game, you'll have a stronger character. But then beyond that, you have a chance at it being ultra valuable for other people. Someone else who's looking for, I really want a crazy minions build, and this guy's got two gifts on like a perfect minion build. That's crazy valuable for me. Or I want to do a weird build where I'm all about pushes and pulls or whatever. He's got a gift for that. So it gives you something like to search for, right? I want this very specific thing. So people are going to be they'll make something interesting and they'll be like, oh, I bet someone's going to dig this. They'll put it up. And that, I don't know, it's going to make that economy just very rich, I think. At least that's the way we're designing it for, right? That's why we're kind of putting a PvP out so that people can try it and tell us like, yeah, this is going to have value. So far, so good. But we are, like I said, I'm more than willing to fail early in front of people and then fix it so that when we do release, it's rock solid and everyone can feel good about it and have fun.
I mean, that's the point of testing as well, isn't it? Is that and that's why we do events like where for anyone who's watching as a part of our community, you can get involved by going across to the website and following the instructions on there, and you can become a part of this test. But I mean, how long or what date are we looking at the moment for the actual go live in terms of public launch?
End of September is what we're shooting for the final closed beta. But closed beta means your stuff stays with you. Okay, your account is your account. Cool. Right. So that's New
World.
That's big.
But that's a sore subject.
Because yes, and I agree, and I get. Like I'm the same way. We have a bunch of different servers just for testing, and sometimes I'll get to a server and I'm like, I don't want to grind for this thing that I need, because I'm like, this isn't my account. I don't feel that ownership.
You don't invest too heavily too early.
For a while, until we go live. When you go live, now like you said, it's my car, my account. Now I'm building these characters, and my time, my effort, my expertise is going to turn into value for me, for someone else. However, that's going to turn around. Whatever you want to do with it in your specific setup, it's going to actually end up being yours. Whereas right now, like, you get to play with, we're giving people resources more quickly, but it doesn't feel as fun until it's mine and it's my account.
No, I can definitely see that, because I mean, especially how I approach games as well. If while it's in the testing phase, I will literally just test. So I'll jump in, I'll have a look around and be like, okay, cool, I can see some cool things here. But I'm going to wait. But I'm going to wait till it goes live before I really dedicate time into it, because as I said, you're just going to log on in a few weeks and it's all gone.
So I know I was going to do that with New World.
To be clear about that, one more thing on that is everybody that's testing now is going to get a lot of really good stuff. Let's put it that way. So if you're spending your time now, it's not like you're just like, oh, well, you're welcome for the time that you got to spend. We really appreciate all this time that people have spent. People literally do bug reports for us. I mean, like, legit. So, and you don't have to if you don't want to. We appreciate it. You can just give us commentary or no commentary. Just play the game.
And we can see what's
enjoy and keep it to yourself. whatever works for you. But
I tend to find it's quite surprising how sometimes it's too helpful, but generally people who play the game who are passionate about the game, you're more likely going to get bug reports. And if you listen, then they're only going to improve your product. And I think that's one of the biggest complaints people have with something like Plarium, where people will send in thousands of different things and solutions and options. Okay, not all of them are actionable and not all of them are relevant, but you're getting like free QA, which you normally have to pay a lot of money for. And it's normally more detailed because they've gone and figured out why it's not working, where a QA might just go, this was bugged, needs more investigation.
Yeah, please fix.
So, I think, especially from a development perspective, having that kind of access is really helpful, because people will find things you didn't even know were a problem, and you're just sitting there thinking, well, that doesn't make any sense, but okay, I'll fix it, no problem.
And you just have to listen like that. That's I mean, I think you guys are good about that. Whenever I see Simon, he's talking and someone's like, hey, something's busted with he listens, right? That's a sign of a good business, a good company.
Yeah, and then he copies and pastes it, sends it to us.
Right.
Like, fix it.
he listens and then
this is broken. Fix immediately.
Listens, then dictates.
Yes.
That's the sign of a good director.
He's actually fixing it. Yeah. And I'm not fixing this stuff either, right? I mean, I go in and fix a lot. I mean, as a CEO of a small company, you end up wearing a lot of hats.
Yeah.
But the reality is there's a bunch of way smarter people behind me or with me, I guess is the better way to put it, that are doing what I would consider the real work. I'm just out here figuring out like the way the game should kind of play. They're actually making it happen. So yeah. So that was a little bonus shout out to the dev team and everybody else. I mean, honestly,
what they've done is incredible. And I've seen your team grow from I think it was like 3 of you when we first started working together, and now you've got an army of people who I'm hearing names that I haven't met yet, and I will definitely have to. And me and Simon have said that once things settle down in the world and stuff, we're definitely going to plan a trip to come out and see you guys and actually meet you.
Yes, let's go.
Whenever that will be.
Yeah, because I mean we've been working together for going on a year now, and I feel like we're friends more than business partners or anything like that now, and I've seen what you guys are doing and it blows my mind every time we talk. So no, honestly, but thank you so much for jumping on today, Sham. I think we'll wrap up the podcast there for today. I think that's a lot of food for thought for everybody, and if anyone hasn't had chance to try out Incarnate yet, make sure that you do log on to the hellhades.com website, go to the Incarnate section, and there's full details of as to how you get involved in the testing which is going on at the moment. At the same time, obviously, we've got the closed beta coming up at the end of next month, with hopefully a live release somewhere before Christmas, or
I don't have good confidence from my I haven't good. So whenever I give estimates, I always ask everybody, like, give me your 95% confidence, right?
Yeah.
So imagine, pretend, and this is not the case, your job depends on it, right? But then people will kind of be like, well, there's no way we can get this done, or I don't think I can get this done. Sure. So I haven't gotten to ask everybody, and I want to see the next basically this.
And I guess it
batch,
depends on the outcome of the testing. So
exactly, exactly. Because imagine we find some huge bug and we need to fix it. Well, then we'll fix it. We're not going to release just for. So
sure.
I would say September we're feeling solid on, and then we'll be able to give more information soon.
And at the moment, it's only on PC and Mac, but it is coming to mobile.
Yes.
And will that be in the September launch, or is that further down the line?
That will not be in the September launch. Unfortunately, I think so Unity makes it easy. The engine we use makes it easy for us to port everything over.
Yep.
However, and even like some of the touch controls aren't too bad for us to finish, but actually publishing to iOS specifically, Android is not as bad, is kind of a pain. And so we're just saying, like, okay, well, we're very confident we can do the September launch PC Mac. We are not as confident that we could do it, so we don't want to promise it. And I think odds are it will not be mobile at that point. But we'll get that basically out as soon as we can, and then it'll all just be cross-platform. Your accounts are the same everywhere. That's standard at this point. I don't feel like that. I feel like that was like the early 2000s, that you had to be like, I've got my account here and I've got my account here.
You'd be surprised how many people, when we tell them that they need to log on Plarium Play, say I can't because I only play on mobile. It's like, yeah, but you can still log on Polarium
it's
Play.
the same account.
Uh,
The best one's when it's BlueStacks. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I only use BlueStacks. I'm like, but it's the same.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
But yeah, honestly, anyway, Sham, thank you so much for coming. And again, guys, if you haven't already, make sure that you like, subscribe, follow the channel, listen to us on Spotify and all that good stuff. And yeah, until the next podcast, we will see you on Friday next week.